Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to another Hero House review. Bit of a change of pace today as we do a figure that's not quite as new as the ones we've been doing. In fact, he came out all the way back in 2006. This is Marvel Legends Captain Marvel. Now, for those of you who are unfamiliar with Captain Marvel, and that may be a fair few of you, he is a very interesting character in Marvel's history because he was sort of one of their premier heroes during the 70s and early 80s, as you can tell, being Captain Marvel. But basically, they decided to use him for a fairly seminal event, which was basically his death. Now, no superheroes get the benefit of dying, in a noble and heroic fashion in battle or some sort of sacrifice, or, it'll kick off the start of some huge event. Captain Marvel was done to use a fairly powerful message, which was basically, the devastation that cancer can wreak on a family, or that death is something that can just creep up on you unexpectedly. See, how Captain Marvel died is he was battling this villain called Nitro, so not even a particularly important villain, especially not in Captain Marvel's rogues gallery, because, this is the guy who was basically Thanos' first opponent, He started out big. So he was battling Nitro, stopped a toxin. Years later, it was established that these toxins gave him cancer. And they released a graphic novel called The Death of Captain Marvel, where he slowly succumbs to the disease. He doesn't get a big fight. He just, lies in bed surrounded by his friends, goes into a coma, and passes away. They do get some good messages in there where basically all of these super geniuses like Mr. Fantastic and Tony Stark are desperately trying to cure him, and it's pointed out like they have been heroes on this earth for so many years, they're so brilliant, and only now they're turning their attention to this disease. Which is a very valid point, and it makes for a very powerful story to see such a, mighty hero pass away like that. And to Marvel's credit, they've never actually tried to bring him back. He's had a few appearances here and there, but it's either not him in the end, or he's literally around for an issue to speak to one of his relatives. I mean, his legacy has been pretty untouched, and has continued quite a bit. I mean, the Captain Marvel movie that's coming out soon focuses on Carol Danvers, who's a legacy character of his. His son took up the mantle as well before her. There was another one who's Photon now. So basically, he had a lot of impact, but he's just not particularly famous at this point in time, which is a shame because his story of him passing away is fantastic. As you can see, this is an older figure. The box is very different to what Bishop came in, but the articulation on the figure, 36 points. So even back then, they were very well articulated. Looks like it has a nice sculpt, and the packaging, I honestly prefer this. It's got a lot more character to it. I mean, Marvel Legends, Captain Marvel, it's just got sort of a unique touch, a je ne sais quoi. This, usually comes with a decent Build-A-Figure. MODOK was a really good one. Doubt I'll be able to get the rest of him, considering, that was 12 years ago. Pull back, you can see they included one of his comic books in with the figure, which is always a good step. And if we flip him over to the back, we see the rest of the figures in the line. So, some cool ones there. Especially a Beta Ray Bill. I managed to pick up one of those secondhand the other day, and he's pretty glorious. And we get an awesome little description of who he is. Originally sent to Earth as a spy for the alien Kree Empire, Mar-Vell, brilliant name, discovered that the Kree supreme intelligence conspired to enslave the human race and claim the planet for their own. With Earth now his home, he rebelled against his insidious masters to fight for the world that had welcomed him. Possessed of a cosmic awareness and virtually limitless might, Mar-Vell took the name Captain Marvel and uses his powerful negabands to champion the cause of right. See, that's got gravitas right there. That is what modern comics are missing. I mean, goddamn. And we go up even further, and we have a power grid. See, this is what the new packaging needs this. I mean, I want to know where my hero sits on a neatly described table of power. Intelligence, he's not that bright. Strength, he's a bit stronger than he is smart. He's very quick. He can take a hit, he can blast you, and, he's pretty skilled. So, he was a bit of a Mario all-around package, but not super strong. Oh, I guess he's got the speed. Now, opening this up could be difficult. That's the problem with blister packs like this. I mean, they're not very collector friendly in terms of putting things back in the box after you've taken it out for a bit. Apparently that's, an idea that only hit companies, a decade ago. Can't tell you when blister packets went out of vogue. Now, how to open him up without damaging that awesome card. I guess I'll have to cut along the top and then make incisions down the sides, which can't really show you while holding him at the same time, so this might have to be a cut and drop, and I will let you know how it goes. I will be back with you in a second. Alright guys, we're back. I know I normally have them in a pose when I come back, but I was proud of how well I opened this, so basically going to show how it was done. Like I said, did a bit of a snip across the top, then just an incision down the side, and we can just pop it open. It's still firmly attached, but we can access all the goodies within. And goodies, we've got issue 25 of his series, the most cosmic superhero of all, which, in terms of Marvel, he kind of was when this came out, so yeah, that's fair. And then what do we have? He comes with... Oh no, is it all cable tied in? Oh no, it is. It is the classic annoying ties. Alright, I'll be back. This is gonna take a while. Alright, now this is much better. Not too much to talk about in terms of accessories. Again, he comes with, a Build-A-Figure part for MODOK. A Build-A-Figure, if you're not familiar, is essentially the wave or line of figures comes out. Each one comes with a component of a bigger figure. You buy everyone in the line, you get to build another figure. Some people look at it as you get a figure for free if you're investing in the entire line. I basically see it as, he comes with no other accessories apart from that. And I feel, they could have given him a blaster or like an inarticulated Rick Jones who was like his sidekick. You could have done something way more interesting than just a chair piece. So I think it's a way to kind of be sloppy and try and get people to buy figures they otherwise wouldn't so that they can get a bigger one. So I'm not that big a fan of Build-A-Figures. I mean, they usually look fantastic, but just release them as a figure unto themselves. If you've got to charge extra for it, do it. And then just make sure you put everything you can into each figure of the line. And, it's that simple as far as I'm concerned. Articulation-wise, he's pretty neat. I mean, he's got shoulder joints up the wazoo, so there's, very few poses he cannot get into. He's got that old-school Marvel Legends lank to him. I mean, check out that neck. This bad boy, he is part giraffe. He was bitten by a radioactive giraffe. So, aesthetic-wise, he doesn't look like this in the comics. I mean, the costume's perfect, the hair's perfect, the proportions are off. I mean, his hand, I don't know if you can really see the hand. The fingers are just nubs. They've tried to do it like he's curling it in, like he's going to make a fist, and they just cut off his fingers. Contrast with this hand, which is extended perfectly fine. And then, God knows what's going on with the Sideshow Bob feet he's got going here. Those are huge. I mean, I imagine his primary mode of fighting would be kicks, because that's going to make one hell of an impact. Now, all that said, so where are we at? Fantastic articulation. The sculpt isn't perfect. I mean, there's just so much length to it. It's not actually that involved a sculpt either. I mean, he's got the thin athletic body, and then they've sculpted in the nega bands onto his wrists, which are nice, and, they've given him nicely coiffed hair, so good work there. I mean, beyond that, there's not that much more to say about him, because he doesn't really come with his own accessories. He's got the comic book, which is a neat addition, but again, the figure itself is lacking. They should have included some sort of blast effect, or just something to make him a bit more bang for your buck. Because as he is alone, he's neat and enjoyable, and you can have a lot of fun with him, but he's nowhere close to a 5 out of 5. They haven't knocked the ball out of the park. No, sports metaphor is not my strong suit. So I'd say he's a 3. Don't really want to give him a 2.5 because that seems to be leaning towards he's a bad figure. But I think that's more a flaw in people's perceptions of what a critique is. 2.5 is, average, smack bang in the middle, and perfectly acceptable. When something dips below half, it's bad. Like a 6 people would consider bad if you're on the 10 scale. But 6 isn't bad. 6 is above, the average. Below 5 is bad. So I'm going to say he's a 2.5. He's not a spectacular figure. But, he's perfectly acceptable, and I imagine I'm going to have a lot of fun with him. Alright guys, and there you have it. That was our review of Captain Marvel. I thought I'd put him next to Bill, mostly to illustrate my point earlier about Build-A-Figures. I mean, they're from the same wave. They both, included a piece of MODOK, so they were literally in development at the same point in time. And you can just see the difference in effort that would have gone into these. I mean, Captain Marvel, very basic design, no accessories of his own. Come across to Bill, he's much bigger, for one thing, and look at just the intricacy, the detail. His posability is just as good. And, look, he comes with the hammer, so he has an accessory. That thing attaches. It's got a loop thing for him to put his hand in it, so it can be held in a variety of ways. And there's just so much more complexity and so much more going on here. So clearly they do devote differing amounts of attention to the figures. So if you're going to make a big one to sort of cap off the wave, just do it. And then give, the smaller guys some accessories to make up for that height. Although merely seeing him pose now, I think he's quite dynamic and appreciate that design a bit more. But point stands, Build-A-Figures are rubbish in terms of an idea. If not, the execution's always fantastic, but, that doesn't really undermine the point. Anyway, that was the review. Thank you for your time, and if you want to head over to the other side of the channel, we have our show Hero House. It's showing the action figures in, action, and it is a good time. Head on over. Thank you for your time, and I'll see you next week.